Hello. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Ariana Dieva, and welcome to the Civil Point. We have some things to talk about today because we are in dire straits here in the United States currently. We are currently at a turning point of no return. Actual point of democracy where it could be looked at as a distant memory that we cannot get back because of what is currently being incorporated, implemented, and codified into our government as a cement cinder block that will be unable to be moved. And it is scary as to what is going on here, and it's scary that some people still aren't awake to this, but a lot of people are starting to become aware of what is going on. But before we get into that, go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You don't want to miss out on brand new videos, channels, and episodes of the podcast. And you just don't want to miss out on the news that's going on currently in America that will affect your daily lives in the future. So let's continue getting on this and get into what is going on and why none other than Stephen Miller is America's biggest and most dangerous problem. So let's go ahead and get this in here. Just give me 1 second. I don't know why my podcast is being weird right now. 1 second. Okay, we're good. Cool. I thought we were being weird right now. We're not being weird. Cool. So let's get into it. Let's get into why Stephen Miller is currently America's biggest problem. And I say this with conviction. I say this with intention because a lot of people are looking at today, right? They're seeing Trump in office. They're seeing Trump making these decisions. They're seeing Trump codifying these executive orders and laws that are supposed to guide us into the future of his presidency. And what people are not realizing right now is the things, the laws, the executive orders that he's codifying, the fact that he is taking our Constitution and manipulating it into a perverse way to create an authoritarian dictator in our country has lasting effects past Donald Trump. And that is what people are not understanding or getting right now because they believe Donald Trump is their light and savior. They believe Donald Trump is America's savior. They believe Donald Trump is an icon who will last forever. But the truth is, people are not realizing and understanding no one is immortal. Donald Trump is he's going to die. Like, it's inevitable. He's at a very elderly age, and he's showing signs of his, life winding down, where he should be in a mental institution home for the old. He's currently running the United States into the ground. So people don't realize that the laws and the executive orders and the manipulation and perversion of our Constitution and our U.S. Code and states' rights that is going on currently right now, that it is going to have a adverse and dire effect on the future of the United States. So we can't just focus on Trump's term as president right now. We have to focus on the future 30, 50, 60, 100 years of America if we want it to survive. And that's why I say right now, Donald Trump is not the most evil person in the room. He's complicit to everything going on, but Donald Trump is not the most evil man in the room here. The most evil man in the room are his donors, his big back money donors that got him into presidency. You honestly think that Donald Trump got into presidency because people like him? It's a part of it. But I honestly think Donald Trump got into presidency because people backed him, big donors like Project 2025 and Heritage Foundation that he distanced himself from, that he called the policies that he read through from Project 2025 extreme, the project that he distanced himself from, now he has people in his administration serving as in high roles of our government. So that's why I'm saying Donald Trump is not the most evil and dangerous person in the room. The rules, the laws, the executive orders that are being put into place are not at the behest of Donald Trump. He's a guinea pig. He's a money pig. He's a cow. That is what Donald Trump is. He serves a greater purpose, and that greater purpose is for the evil that's below him and around him to control the power of the United States. And those evil people are the people like Stephen Miller, who has association with the Heritage Foundation and the idea of Project 2025 being implemented because Donald Trump is now in office, and they're doing quite a damn good job of doing that. And it's scary. It's only 10 months into his administration, and they've literally implemented half of Project 2025, from the destruction of the Department of Education to the destruction of a woman's rights to choose over their own bodily autonomy of abortion and healthcare. It is scary how far they have come and will continue to go in their journey to rectify the wrongs they believe that they suffered as a white nationalist, racist group of people in America, when they have suffered no injustices in America, let alone the injustices that minority groups suffered, like Black people in slavery, or Latino people, or even Asian people. I mean, every other group has suffered. So it's very ironic and hilarious and controversial to say that as a white man like Stephen Miller, as a white man like Donald Trump, as a white man, as a population, that you have been persecuted far too long, that you have been set aside far too long. It's hilarious to me that we have white men in power saying that white men have been persecuted. It's insane, because it's not true. Just because other minorities have now opportunities does not mean that you no longer matter. So that is the galvanizing statement for the white racist nationalists of this company. We're being persecuted and set aside. What was it called? The Great White Awakening, or the Great White, what was it? The Great White, there's a name for it, where we're like pushing white people out of the way. I forget what it's called, but it's not true. It's not true. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on new content here almost every night, every day. And today we're getting into Stephen Miller. So let's get into Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller made some very controversial statements as of late. And these statements include the word street terrorist and things of that nature. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So I already covered the street terrorist part, but then I didn't watch his whole interview, and he said some pretty crazy things when it comes to the quiet part being spoken out loud finally, even though we already know the quiet part was really loud in the election period, especially with Project 2025 on the docket. We already knew what their plan was, but now the plan is solidified in his statements in this interview on CNN. But first, I want to revisit this one, street terrorists. Play.
Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. You've called the district judge's ruling.
Sorry. We're not doing street terrorists first. We're doing plenary authority. Let's go ahead and do it.
Thank you so much for joining us, by the way. You've called the district judge's ruling blocking the deployment of National Guard in Oregon legal insurrection. Does the administration still plan to abide by that ruling?
Well, the administration filed an appeal this morning with the Ninth Circuit. I would note the administration won an identical case in the Ninth Circuit just a few months ago with respect to the federalizing of the California National Guard. Under Title 10 of the U.S. Code, the president has plenary authority.
Stephen?
This man knew he fucked up. Stephen Miller knew he fucked up. Someone in his ear said, shut the up. Pretend you're frozen. If you're gonna pretend you're frozen, Stephen Miller, at least do it well. But then again, we know that these people can't act. Their intentions have been clear and transparent through every aspect of this election, and has been transparent through every word since they stepped into office. But the fact that he sat there and he was like, but still blinking, if you're gonna try and pretend you're frozen, pretend. Be a good actor at least. Do it well, do it right. But Stephen Miller, he said the term plenary authority. And that triggered because plenary authority basically means that someone has limitless power over the government, essentially making them a king. And we already know that was the trajectory, that was the plan of action for Donald Trump. I mean, from the court rulings to all of his executive orders to him deploying military and armed forces into states with our actual judicial system saying you cannot do it. It's always been the plan. And right now, in this statement, Stephen Miller said it out loud. Plenary authority. He said the President of the United States has plenary authority to activate our armed forces in our streets against protesters. And I want to be very clear on this. It is true. He's not wrong. Our president does have granted power to access our armed forces and put them in the streets for the good of America, to protect American citizens. This is very true. And what Stephen Miller is referencing, and I'll pull it up here because, I do my research. He's referencing Section 252 of the U.S. Code. And 252, he's referencing Title 10, Section 252 of the U.S. Code, the use of militia and armed forces to enforce federal authority. So this states whenever the president considers the unlawful obstructions, combinations, or assemblages or rebellion against the authority of the United States make it impractical to enforce the laws of the United States in any state by the ordinary course of judicial proceedings, he may call into federal service such as the militia of any state and use such of the armed forces as he considers necessary to enforce those laws to suppress the rebellion. So yes, Stephen Miller is correct. Donald Trump does have the authority to roll out armed forces into the streets of the United States to protect the United States citizens from rebellion, from obstructions. That's true. But there's no rebellions or obstructions that are happening here. What is happening is that people are using their First Amendment right to protest. And the reason why they are protesting is because your policies are ruining everyday Americans. And they said, we don't like this. And now the donors behind Donald Trump are getting fearful because they thought Donald Trump was going to be the golden goose and ticket for them to sit in this presidency and get everything they wanted. And now they're realizing that he is not that golden ticket. Everyone is starting to come to a little bit of awakening, oh wait, this is not what I voted for. You have the influencers and podcasters saying, hold up, Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and, Schultz. They're all like, hold up. I didn't vote for any of this. This is a little bit cray. And I think now they're starting to wake up and they're like, oh, we got to move quick on this and get into our action of Project 2025 to implement it. And here's the thing. Donald Trump is not going to last forever. He's not supposed to last forever. But what is supposed to last forever is the idea of a king in the United States. Donald Trump will never be king forever. He is going to die. But they will replace him with someone younger and more impressionable who will do as they say, because a king is never truly a king. There is always, especially when there's a coup of a democracy going on, there is a broader underground evil force at work. And that evil underground force is right now behind Donald Trump. But soon, when Trump is no longer there and these policies are still in place that affect everyday citizens and Americans, then we will not be able to challenge it. We will not be able to protest against it because Donald Trump allowed and sold out the American public and our freedoms so that these evil people can dictate our everyday lives in the United States as they see fit through their religious Bible perspective. That is the problem, and that's what people are not seeing. Yes, you can be MAGA and vote for Trump, but you're not seeing the trajectory and the potential effects of how his policies are not only going to affect everyone else, but you as well. You have your blinders on and you're not paying attention to the actual trajectory of the United States, which is authoritarian figures. And when authoritarian figures are in power, it is very hard to dissent against them because they have now weaponized, ripped apart a democratic constitution that protects you to then pervert it to protect them in power. That is what's going on. So in regards to the use of militia and armed forces here, yes, the president does have an opportunity to use Title 10, Section 52 of the U.S. Code. It's true. He does. It says it plain there. He does. But what they're doing currently right now is perverting and manipulating the situations that are happening in Portland, in Chicago, in New York, in all these democratic cities, because there's not real insurrection going on. It's protest. It's American citizens using their right to protest, the First Amendment. There's no actual rebellion or insurrection going on. The only rebellion or insurrection that happened was January 6th, when Trump sent his goonies and cronies and supporters and maggots to the Capitol to storm it, and you had police officers injured and killed. That is called an insurrection. And did you see Joe Biden enact the Title 10? No. So we have to be very clear about what is going on here. They're manipulating the narrative of freedom of speech and equating it to rebellion. That is a problem. That is a major problem. A, it's a constitutional violation against our First Amendment right to freedom of speech and protest. B, it's a problem because now they're equating our idea of freedom of speech to a dissent of the administration or the regime, which then turns to we must silence the freedom of speech. We must silence the protesters, which then gives them the right under Title 10, if they're qualifying freedom of speech as domestic terrorism, then they can invoke Title 10, Section 252, and put the armed forces on American public. It's a perversion of our laws. It's a perversion of federal law, and it does not exist. It just does not exist. On top of it, for Title 10, you also have to go through the correct judicial processes. So again, checks and balances are being shredded apart in the United States. And Stephen Miller said the quiet part out loud. It's no longer about following the rules of democracy. It's no longer about allowing people to freely speak their mind and protest in the streets quietly and in a way that does not disturb. But it's about silencing the dissent, silencing every dissent that possibly can happen, especially in democratic cities where our voices are heard much more loudly across our nation rather than states like, I don't know, Kentucky. So that is why they're sending armed forces into these cities to scare and manipulate the perception of there's war in our cities when there is no war in the cities. Look at TikTok, look at every other platform, and people showing, where's the war? There's no war in these cities. What are you talking about? It's because our government is trying to lie to you so they can enforce martial law. And this is where I also think that we need to We need to find a different way to protest, because now they're trying to say that our freedom of speech is a dissent. And yes, I think we should continue protesting in these streets, but very strategically. Because if they're going to throw military in the streets to cause issues and create military force in our streets, well, then we need to find different ways to protest that does not engage with our military. And basically what I'm saying is we can't allow them to continue perverting our federal laws and constitution. So what's a way that we can now utilize our free speech? We can utilize our free speech online. We don't always need to be in the streets, even though I support being in the streets. Right now, it's very dangerous to be in the streets protesting. You have ICE agents just rallying up people. You have our National Guard being sent into states like California, Portland, Oregon, and Chicago. And it's causing issues where people are getting thrown to the floor by our own armed forces that are not supposed to be dealt and put onto American citizens. So we need to find alternative ways to protest. And those alternative ways to protest can include social media, as social media has been a big part of uncovering the truth about what's going on in this administration. And that's another way that they are trying to suppress our free speech, by controlling social media. I mean, you have the Murdoch family and Fox being entangled in decisions with buying TikTok, and Fox's completely right-wing, insane MAGA agenda. And it's just, they're trying to suppress our speech. They're trying to suppress dissent, and they're trying to do it well. And with the power they have, I'm scared that they actually may be able to do that. So in regards to Stephen Miller, though, I wanted to go revisit his whole spiel here. Actually, no, I didn't. I don't, because we know him. He's gross. He's disgusting. He's America's problem. Stephen Miller, currently right now, is America's problem. He's America's problem because he's part of Project 2025. Donald Trump isn't America's biggest problem. It's his donors. It's Project 2025. It's the Heritage Foundation. It's the evil swamp that lays beneath him. And he is just the caricature of freedom, when freedom truly doesn't exist under this administration, because they're trying to take your freedoms. So let's go ahead and go into this a little bit. So I found this article in regards to Stephen Miller. I found this article in regards to Stephen Miller because I was like, who is this man? I know he's the deputy chief of staff when it comes to the presidency currently. But when you look at like Stephen Miller himself, he's such an evil human being. So he was the architect of family separation, which means basically he wanted to separate families. Congratulations. That's so Christian. Let's separate families when you're supposed to be saying, let's have a mother and father in a home. Oh, but that mother and father doesn't count when they're brown or black, right? No, it's only white families, right? That you need to keep together. Everyone else doesn't exist. Obviously, he has white nationalist ties. We see it from the baldness on his head and his 5'4" stature. I mean, it's hilarious. AOC, she trolled the out of Stephen Miller, and I was dying. She was like, he's like 5'4", he's like 4 feet, and he's so tiny. I haven't seen him in person, but from pictures, like, he definitely has an insecurity complex about himself, a Napoleon complex, because that man is so tiny, and I was dying. And then I saw a clip that Fox News literally made him watch AOC make fun of him on the news. That's how you know Fox News is tired of this administration. They're no longer like really trying to support them. They're subbing them so hard because they're sitting there making Stephen Miller watch AOC drag him to hell because of his height. And it was hilarious. But obviously he has white nationalist ties. You can see it from the buzzed head of his, shaved bald as a baby's ass, that he likes because they're all pedophiles, by the way, you know. Ted Cruz, pedophile. Stephen Miller, pedophile. Everyone part of this administration, pedophile. Just saying. But during Trump's first term, leaked emails revealed that Miller frequently shared white nationalist talking points and publications, including content from VDare and Camp of Saints, a notoriously racist and anti-immigrant novel embraced by far-right extremists. He has a career built on bigotry, which, obviously right up the alley and lane of Donald Trump here. So before entering the White House, Miller worked under Senator Jeff Sessions, helping craft policies aimed at rolling back civil rights, weakening voting protections, and targeting marginalized communities. His work in government has consistently targeted people of color, immigrants, and LGBTQ plus Americans. What a great guy. Stephen Miller is really a great guy with these nasty policies that he's trying to implement to target minority groups of people. Such a great guy that you want in your White House as chief of staff, correct? Insane to me. He has ethical conflicts with immigration and a long history of harmful rhetoric. Right up the alley of this administration, who Stephen Miller is. And honestly, can we be surprised? Can we really be surprised that this administration is over here allowing racist, bigots, white nationalists to run this country? No, we can't be surprised. It's the same shit, different day. But we must fight against it. We must continue, as tiring as it is. We must continue fighting against it, keep speaking out about it, keep calling them out on their bullshit, keep calling people like Stephen Miller out, not only on his notorious height that gives him a Napoleon complex, that he wants to end everyone else but the white male species, but keep calling them out on their policy violations, keep calling them out on the manipulations, contradictions, and perversions of our Constitution, and keep calling them out on the perversions and ripping apart our federal government and laws. That is the only way that we fight this. As well as make sure we're documenting. Our Constitution is being ripped apart. You think one day they're not going to go ahead and just write a whole new Constitution and say, this was the Constitution all along? It was meant to be this way? We need to be proactive about this, because right now we are in a dangerous spot for the United States of America. And the fact that Stephen Miller sat on national television and said the word plenary authority for a president, meaning basically a president has limitless power as basically a king, should be a very red flag for everyone. Not a red flag, but a 5 a.m. alarm. Get the fuck up, because we are in trouble. We will not be able to go back from this. We need to get this man out of the office right now, so that way the policies that are being implemented do not affect us in the future. He cannot be in the office right now. Trump is compromised. He is backed by donors who are white nationalists and want this world to be nothing but white people. And listen, I have no problem with white people. I have a problem with racist people, but I love white people. I love my white people. But racist people, y'all need to go somewhere. I don't know. Why don't you just take a SpaceX ship? Just take a SpaceX ship and go to the moon. Colonize the moon. Go to the moon. Colonize it. Go to Mars. Didn't Musk create life on Mars or something like that? Go to Mars. Do something. No one wants you here, you racist. So go somewhere else. Why do you have to be here? Oh, it's so annoying. Anyway, this was the end of the podcast. It's just tiring. Every day it's something, but we have to keep speaking up about it. We have to keep talking about it, because Stephen Miller is a 4-foot gremlin gnome ass bitch who's trying to destroy America from inside, from the democracy that we've known it to be, to authoritarian government where no one has freedom or rights other than white men. Basically, Handmaid's Tale. IRL. No longer on Hulu. It's brought to you right in your daily life every day. That's what's trying to happen. Yeah, all we can do is keep speaking up about it. If you guys haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on more episodes as we discuss craziness that's going on in politics, our White House, and the country as a whole. And you just don't want to miss me. I'm kidding. But hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.